Let's get one thing straight, my friends. If they truly wanted to talk to you, they would. If they valued what you brought to the table, you wouldn't be sitting there questioning whether you were enough. And I know that hurts. I know the mind tries to come up with 100 excuses to protect the heart. Maybe they're busy, maybe they're scared, maybe they'll change. No, folks, the truth is calm. And the truth is this: they saw your value and still chose to treat it like it was optional. That's all you need to know. So, no, you don't need to send another text. You don't need to explain yourself one more time. You don't need to offer your heart like a clearance sale, hoping they'll finally pick it up this time. What you need to do is pause, breathe, and then flip the entire game. Not through begging, not through blocking, but through one tiny move so sharp, so intentional, it plants itself inside their mind like a splinter they'll keep trying to ignore. 1,000 words couldn't do it. But this one shift, it'll live in their head for months. Now listen, this isn't about playing games. Stoicism teaches us to remain calm, but not passive, to be strategic, not emotional. What you're doing now is not revenge, it's redirection. It's about interrupting their comfort. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer showing up where they expect you. And when a person can't predict your next move, they lose control of the script they were writing in their head. That's when curiosity becomes obsession. That's when your absence becomes a trigger, not of silence, but of meaning. You are going to stop texting, but you're not going to disappear. No, you're going to become a presence they feel even in your distance. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, you're going to activate the part of their brain that obsesses over what it can't categorize. You're not deleting yourself, you're planting something unforgettable in their mind, a version of you that evolved so fast, so fearlessly, that they can't even recognize who you are anymore. And that unsettles them more than your silence ever could. Let's stop romanticizing confusion. If someone cared, they'd make it known. If someone respected you, you'd feel it. You've given enough chances. Now it's time to give yourself a new story. You are not here to chase. You are not here to convince. You are not here to lower your standards just to keep someone comfortable. You are here to become so clear in your energy that your very existence becomes the lesson they never forget. They walked away because they thought you'd stay where they left you. But when they look again, you'll be unrecognizable, in glow, in mindset, in power. That, my friends, is Stoic revenge. You don't need a text. You need transformation. You don't need to talk. You need to trigger, quietly, strategically, powerfully, and you're going to do it with calm, with control, with class. So hold your fire. Watch what happens when you stop doing what they expect. Watch what happens when you stop chasing and start becoming. They're not ready for the version of you who doesn't chase closure because you became it. If this woke something up inside you, type this in the comments right now. I don't text, I transform. Say it like you mean it. Say it like your future self is listening. Smash that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 1. The unexpected move that reverses the power. Let's stop sugarcoating it, my friends. If they wanted to talk to you, they would have. If they respected you, if they valued your presence, if they actually feared losing you, they'd be in your life right now. But they're not. And here you are, holding your phone, scrolling through old messages, wondering if maybe, just maybe, they'll wake up and realize what they had. But that fantasy, it's costing you time. It's stealing your energy. And I need you to snap out of it, because what I'm about to show you will change the entire game. This isn't about texting them one last time. In fact, it's about never texting them again. Not because you're bitter, not because you're giving up, but because you're about to do something they'll never see coming. Something that flips the entire emotional equation without saying a word. I know what you're thinking. But if I don't reach out, they'll forget me. No, they won't. Not if you do what I'm about to give you. They can't forget someone who leaves a mark deeper than words ever could. Most people think silence is the most powerful move, but silence alone doesn't leave an imprint. It fades. But this one thing I'm going to hand you in a moment, it doesn't fade. It burns, quietly, permanently, in the back of their mind. It's not some social media stunt. It's not about posting to make them jealous. It's not blocking them to feel strong. It's something else entirely, more elegant, more precise, psychological warfare at its calmest. This is not about manipulation. This is Stoicism. This is Carl Jung's shadow theory in motion. This is you becoming so unpredictable, so emotionally detached, yet energetically unignorable, that you start living in their head while they pretend to forget you. That's the trap. You're not chasing, you're not explaining, you're not giving them closure. You're about to drop one tiny action that opens a loop in their mind, a loop they won't know how to close. And until they do, you'll haunt them, but not in rage, not in silence, in precision. That's what makes it art. This isn't about sending a message. This is the message, the one that says, I've stopped trying to make you see my worth, and now you have to sit with what you missed. And trust me, folks, when you apply this, when you stop doing what they expect and drop this one shift instead, they feel it, deep in the chest, at 2 a.m. when the distractions stop, in the middle of fake laughter at parties, in the silence of their own thoughts when the dopamine runs dry. That's when they realize you're gone, and they don't know why it hurts so much. And no, I'm not telling you what the move is, not yet, but I will, in a moment. And when I do, it'll feel like a weapon was placed in your hands, not one to harm, but to reclaim your power. This isn't a trick. This is the reset, the shift that ends their control and starts your rebirth. No yelling, no begging, just strategy, just peace, just total psychological reversal. So don't scroll, don't tap out now, because this one thing, this will be the moment you finally feel like you won. Type it in the comments right now. I'm done chasing. Say it like you mean it. Say it like your healing depends on it, because it does. Number 2, Jung's theory of emotional imprinting. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Now listen closely, my friends, because what I'm about to tell you is not about theory. It's about reality, about psychology in its rawest, most powerful form, emotional imprinting. This is what happens when someone leaves a mark so deeply etched into your nervous system that you start reacting without realizing why. And the move you're about to make, the one we've been building up to, that's exactly what it does. It bypasses logic, it skips the surface, and it drops right into their subconscious, where real obsession begins. See, most people try to get attention by being louder, posting more, talking more, explaining more. That doesn't create emotional imprint, that creates noise. But what we're doing here is surgical, controlled emotional interruption. It's when someone expects you to behave a certain way, text, apologize, ask if they're okay, and instead you break the pattern. You give them the opposite. You become a paradox they can't understand. And the brain? The brain hates loose ends. It wants closure. It wants predictability. So when you pull this off the right way, you create a mental gap they can't close. And they'll keep coming back in their mind, again and again, trying to figure out what just happened. That, my friends, is an imprint. That is psychological gravity, and it's more powerful than any conversation you'll ever have. When they thought you'd text back, but didn't, when they expected you to react emotionally, but stayed composed, when they were sure they had you wrapped up in guilt, regret, or confusion, but you suddenly became unavailable to all of it. That shift? It's not just a move, it's a message, and it delivers pain in a form they can't argue with: consequence. Jung believed that we're all ruled by internal archetypes, roles we assign people based on past experiences. When you keep chasing someone who rejected you, they place you in the lesser archetype, the predictable one, the pursuer. But the moment you stop playing that role and break the emotional contract, you fracture the archetype. They no longer know who you are. And when a person can't define you, they fixate on you. This is how emotional imprinting works, not by trying to be unforgettable, but by becoming unexplainable. They'll never admit it. They'll act like they don't notice. But inside, there's a disruption, a conflict, because their mind was trained to expect you to always be there, waiting, hoping, reaching. And now? You've shifted. You're not cold. You're centered. You're not reacting. You're redirected. You're not gone. You've just elevated. And that elevation creates dissonance. It reminds them they no longer have access to something they once felt in control of. That's the echo that follows them. That's the shadow of you that lingers. That's the imprint. They can't fight it. They can't unsee it. They can't replace it. They'll try. Oh, they'll try. But the moment someone else fails to mirror what you gave effortlessly, they'll feel it all over again. That confusion, that yearning, that regret. And the worst part? You're not even doing anything. You're just being. That's the new power dynamic. So don't underestimate what happens when you choose to break the pattern. You're not just walking away. You're leaving a mark, a memory, a loop. You're placing a psychological fingerprint on their story that they'll carry, whether they talk about it or not. Because you didn't try to prove your worth. You embodied it. And now, their mind is the one doing the chasing. If you're ready to make your imprint, type this in the comments right now. I leave marks, not messages. Say it like it's truth. Number 3. The art of creating unreachable glow. Let's get something straight, my friends. You're not here to disappear. You're here to glow, but not just any glow. I'm talking about that untouchable, sovereign, evolution-in-progress glow, the kind that doesn't beg to be seen. It demands it, effortlessly. This isn't about showing off. It's not about trying to get their attention or make them jealous. It's about becoming so undeniably upgraded, so inwardly aligned, that your very existence becomes a reminder of what they fumbled. Not because you told them, because they can see it now, clearer than ever, and they know they're no longer invited. That's the art of unreachable glow. It's not loud. It's not chaotic. It's that calm, sharp shift in your posture, in your voice, in your decisions. Maybe you changed your look. Maybe your style evolved. Your energy no longer chases. It arrives. And when it does, it sends a quiet message they can't ignore. I'm not who you left behind. This glow is sacred. It's not for revenge. It's for rebirth. It's what happens when you stop orbiting someone else's world and start building your own. Carl Jung talked about individuation, the process of becoming your truest self by integrating what you once rejected. You're doing that now, every time you choose growth over drama, every time you walk past the urge to explain yourself, every time you improve not for applause, but for peace. That's how your glow becomes untouchable. Not just because it's beautiful, but because it's earned. Because it came from pain you alchemized into purpose. Let's be honest, they expected you to stay the same. That's why they walked away so easily. They thought the version of you that tolerated breadcrumbs and confusion would still be waiting if they ever decided to return. But you flipped. flipped the story. You became the plot twist. You leveled up, not just in looks, but in presence. And that's the thing they can't stand to admit. You didn't fall apart. You evolved. And that glow they see now? It's not an Instagram filter. It's spiritual consequence. It's psychological recoil. It's symbolic punishment. You see, folks, people don't really regret losing you when you're quiet. They regret it when you grow, when they look at you from the outside, thriving, focused, untouchable. That's when the regret takes root. That's when the mind starts whispering, "You had that," and you let it go. You don't have to block them. You don't have to text them. You don't have to play a single emotional note. Your glow becomes the soundtrack to their silent shame. This is why you focus on becoming unreachable, because people want what they can't have, especially if it used to be theirs. That glow of yours? It used to be familiar. Now it feels foreign, dangerous, off limits. And the more they realize they don't have access to it anymore, the more they itch to reclaim it. Not because they're in love, but because you became a symbol of what they'll never be allowed to touch again. So invest in your glow, protect it, build it from the inside out, do the work, upgrade your world, take care of your body, speak with intention, move like you own the ground. You're not doing it for them, but trust me, they'll notice. They won't say it, but they'll feel it, and every time they do, it stings like a scar they can't cover. If this spoke to your spirit, write this in the comments right now. My glow is untouchable. Say it like it's a declaration. Say it like the old version of you is never coming back. Number 4. Controlled exposure. The psychological hook. Let me tell you something most people get wrong when it comes to walking away. They think the only options are total silence or constant presence. But true power, it's found in the in-between. It's found in the precision of how and when you're seen. That's what we call controlled exposure. You're not vanishing and you're not chasing. You're showing up just enough to trigger their mind, not their ego. You don't need to scream, "Look at me." All you need to do is let your glow show up where they least expect it. That's how you become unforgettable. This isn't about attention, it's about emotional interruption, because when they see you looking good, laughing, building, showing life in motion without them, it doesn't make them angry, it makes them question. Why does this feel different? Why do they seem lighter? Why are they not trying anymore? And the moment that question appears, my friends, the game has already flipped, because now they're the ones with uncertainty. Now they're the one wondering if you've moved on, if someone else has stepped in, if they were ever truly irreplaceable to begin with. You might post a single picture, not a thirst trap, not bait, but a glimpse of your glow. A casual photo where your confidence radiates through the screen. No caption needed, no follow-up. You let them sit with it. You show up to a place they didn't think you'd be. Not for them, never for them, but because your life is expanding again and they're no longer at the center of it. That's when curiosity turns into craving. Not because you told them anything, but because you stopped trying to be understood and started becoming undeniable. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." The problem is, they left thinking they were the only one who mattered. So when they see you now, untouched, unbothered, yet visible in the world, they can't help but react. But this time, you're not reacting back. You're just living. And that reaction they feel, that quiet sting of knowing they don't get to come close anymore, that's transformation for both of you. Controlled exposure is a psychological hook because it gives them just enough to feel your evolution, but not enough to engage with it. They see it, they feel it, but they can't reach it. And that's what drives the human mind wild. It creates a loop of internal questioning, memory replaying, comparison making. You don't have to post every day. You don't have to make noise. You just have to show them that you exist powerfully without their presence. And that's terrifying to someone who once believed your light came from their attention. This is the moment where your life becomes a trigger, not in a spiteful way, but in a symbolic way. You become a walking reminder of their mistake, a public exhibit of their lost opportunity, and you didn't need to say a thing. You didn't need to flex. You just became someone they no longer have access to, and you let them witness it. That, right there, is how craving begins. Not through words, but through what they can't touch anymore. So keep your presence controlled, deliberate. Let your growth glimmer, but don't let it be grabbed. You are no longer available to be consumed by the people who once discarded you. You're no longer performing for their reaction. You're living for your evolution. If this hits something deep in your chest, write it down in the comments right now. I am seen, not seized. Say it like you've crossed a line you'll never step back from. Smash that like button, subscribe, and stay close. We're only just heating up. Number 5. The energy switch, from pursuer to prize. Here's what they never expected, my friends. They never thought you'd stop chasing. They never imagined the day would come when their name no longer pulled your attention like gravity, because for so long they were the prize. You were the pursuer, the giver, the one always showing up first, forgiving fast, holding the door open with a heart full of hope. But things have changed. Whether they know it or not, you've already made the silent handoff. You're no longer the one running toward them. You've become the one they now have to earn their way back to. That's the energy switch, and it's more powerful than any message you could ever send. Every time you chased, you were reinforcing their illusion of superiority. You taught them, unintentionally, that your time, your love, your energy was theirs for the taking. But now you're not angry. You're just unavailable. You're no longer offering premium access to someone who didn't even pay attention. And trust me, they feel it. Even if they're silent, even if they're pretending, the shift in your energy is screaming at them in a language louder than any text. You're not the center of my world anymore. Carl Jung taught that transformation happens when you bring the unconscious into the light, and you, my friend, just lit a fire under their illusion. The dynamic has flipped. They used to be the sun, and you revolved around them. But now you're your own source of light. You're not orbiting. You're standing still, radiant, and they're the ones circling, trying to make sense of how they lost that control. You don't need to announce the switch. In fact, the more quietly you embody this energy, the more deeply they feel it. You're not texting, you're not checking in, you're not asking how they feel or if they're okay. You're moving, evolving, choosing, not out of bitterness, but because your standards have changed. You don't chase anymore because you're too focused on what's real, too busy becoming what you once begged someone else to be. And this is where the panic begins for them, not when you walked away, but when they realized you're not looking back. When they sense they're knocking on a door you no longer stand behind. You used to be available to their inconsistency, their mixed signals, their almost love. But now you've leveled up your emotional currency, and they can't afford it anymore. Here's the key, folks. When your energy no longer reaches for them, they start reaching in confusion. Why haven't they messaged? Are they talking to someone else? Did they really just move on? These thoughts hit harder than any long paragraph or emotional confession. You don't explain your value. You let them feel the absence of it. That's when they realize they weren't the prize. You were. And by then, your glow-up isn't just physical. It's spiritual, it's energetic, it's earned, and they know it. This is the law of emotional gravity. Whoever pulls back first creates the void, and the one who fills that void last wins the game. You're no longer pulling. You've become the gravitational force, and they're stuck in the orbit of what they let slip away. If you've made the switch, if you feel that calm power rising in your chest, go type it right now in the comments. I am the prize now. Write it like your soul needed to hear it. Say it like you've stopped apologizing for growing up. Number 6. Ritualizing self-elevation that they can't unsee. Let's be clear, my friends. This next part isn't a suggestion, it's a requirement. If you're serious about flipping the script, if you're done being the one left behind, forgotten, overlooked, then it's time to ritualize your rise. No more reacting. No more waiting for closure. No more scrolling through their feed trying to decode crumbs. It's time to take every ounce of that pain and build something they cannot unsee. This isn't about showing off. This is about self-elevation, ritualized, structured, consistent. Because when you start doing the work, not just spiritually but visibly, you become something they never imagined. Undeniable. You improve something they can't lie to themselves about. Something that can't be faked, filtered, or forgotten. Whether it's your body, your business, your energy, your circle, you level up with precision. Because the best kind of revenge isn't revenge at all. It's transformation. The kind Carl Jung called the highest form of healing. The kind that takes the wound they caused and turns it into your second birth. They thought your pain would break you. They thought you'd stay curled up in a ball, waiting. But you didn't. You ritualized the comeback. You used the silence as fuel. You used the confusion as direction. You used the heartbreak as fire. And now you're glowing with a kind of light they'll never feel again. Not because you're flaunting it, but because your energy has changed. You've been rebuilt, sharpened, realigned. And the new version of you, they don't get access. They might not say it, but they'll see it. In the way your body moves, in the way you speak with more clarity, in the way your world no longer orbits their approval. And that glow, it's not just physical, it's emotional posture, spiritual clarity, power that can't be faked. You're no longer reacting, you're becoming. And that's what scares them. Not your silence, not your distance, but your discipline. This isn't a phase. This isn't a revenge body or a temporary hustle. This is your new ritual. Every morning you show up and improve yourself. You send a message to your past. I didn't die there. I evolved. Every new habit you stick to, every limit you raise, every version of you that outgrows the last, it all becomes part of the legacy they helped ignite, but will never be part of again. You're not bitter, you're focused, you're not proving anything, you're refining everything, and the more you refine, the more undeniable you become. That's when they panic. That's when the reality sets in. Not just that they lost you, but that they couldn't even recognize you anymore if they tried. You've become something pain built, and that kind of evolution, that lives in their memory forever. So don't wait to feel motivated. Build the rituals, create the schedule, cut the distractions. Your glow is earned, not gifted. And when it's real, when it's rooted in truth and consistency, even your silence becomes unforgettable. You are becoming the version of you they never deserved in the first place. If this hit you like a wake-up call, type this in the comments right now. I rise by ritual. Say it with your chest. Say it like you buried your past and picked up your crown. Number 7. The phantom effect. You're gone, but you're everywhere. You want to know what real power feels like. It's not revenge. It's not screaming into the void, hoping they'll hear you. It's not one last text they'll never read. Real power is when you're gone. But your presence lingers like smoke in every room they walk into. You didn't force it. You didn't chase it. You just became it. That's what we call the phantom effect. when your absence shows up louder than your presence ever did. They blocked you? Cool. That doesn't stop energy. That doesn't stop memory. That doesn't stop the version of you that's now embedded in their mind, without permission. Their dreams, glimpses of you they didn't ask for, their playlists. Suddenly those lyrics hit different, their social feed, flooded with faces, phrases, or places that remind them of what they ran from. You're not there, but you're everywhere. That's the curse of losing someone who once gave you genuine love. They don't vanish, they echo. And you didn't have to orchestrate any of it. You didn't scheme, you didn't manipulate, you just transformed. You walked away and focused on your glow, your rituals, your evolution, and the universe did the rest. Because when you become undeniably better, your energy imprints on their reality. It becomes psychological static they can't tune out. You're the notification that never shows up, but they still check their phone anyway. You're the conversation that creeps in when the music stops. You're the metaphor in every movie, the whisper in every room, the reflection they can't stop flinching at. Carl Jung believed that unintegrated emotions find ways to surface through projection, dreams, fantasies, irrational fears. That's what's happening now. They can't process what you've become, so their subconscious keeps surfacing you in fragments. It's not your fault they didn't value you, but it is their burden now to live with what they threw away and watch it bloom without them. You became a symbol of what it looks like to be discarded and rise anyway. You haunt them, not like a ghost who wants revenge, but like a queen or king who left behind a crown they'll never wear again. You're not just a memory, you're a moment they can't rewrite. They didn't get closure because they didn't give truth. So now they sit with the fog, the questions, the what-ifs, and it gets heavier the more they pretend they're unbothered. You want to know why they won't stop checking your page, even though they unfollowed you, why they scroll, lurk, ask mutuals how you're doing, because the human brain can't stand loose ends. And you, my friend, left them with a cliffhanger they didn't prepare for. They expected a breakdown. You gave them a breakthrough. They expected you to fall apart. You built an empire, and that discrepancy, it lives in their chest now. That's the phantom effect. That's the power of emotional imprint combined with unapologetic evolution. So no, you don't need to send the text. You don't need to break the silence. Your transformation did what words never could. It made you unforgettable. And that's the real revenge. Not loud, not angry, just unshakable. If you're feeling this in your soul right now, type it in the comments. I became the echo. Say it like a vow. Say it like your glow is now permanent. Number 8, when you do less, their mind works overtime. Here's the paradox that'll twist their mind inside out, my friends. The less you do, the more they unravel. While you're out here living, building, evolving, they're busy overthinking the silence you never explained. That's the trap. That's the prison you place them in, not through bitterness or manipulation, but through calm, steady evolution they can't keep up with. You're not ignoring them. You're just no longer explaining yourself to people who couldn't hear you the first time. Every text you didn't send, every response you held back, every moment you chose growth over drama, it started to echo, not to the world, not to your friends, but to them. And now they're left filling in the blanks, writing stories in their head, trying to decode the mystery of your absence. Why didn't they text back? Did she meet someone else? How did he move on so fast? They'll ask questions they don't have the maturity to answer, and that's exactly what drives them mad. Because here's the thing, people don't fear silence, they fear irrelevance. And when you stop giving energy, when you stop feeding their ego with attention, when you stop responding like you used to, their subconscious starts spinning. It replays old conversations. It magnifies small details. It studies your posts like scripture, looking for clues. That smile? Is it for someone else? That glow? Is it new love or inner peace? They don't know. And that not knowing becomes the punishment they never saw coming. Carl Jung said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And that's exactly what they're doing now. While pretending they've moved on, they're secretly trapped in a narrative they can't resolve. Your silence? It wasn't passive, it was strategic. You didn't just disappear, you elevated. You became someone they can't read anymore, someone they once had full access to, who now lives behind a door they no longer have a key to. And here's what hits hardest. You didn't do less because you were weak. You did less because you finally understood your value. You're not cold. You're focused. You're not distant. You're centered. And while they're sitting in a storm of their own making, you're walking through your peace like nothing ever touched you. That's the new version of you they can't recognize. That's the space they can't fill. And every time they try to replace you, they find another mirror that doesn't reflect what you gave so freely. You've become the question that haunts them, not because you were dramatic, but because you were real, and now you're gone. The stories they make up in their head, that's their karma. That's the consequence. You stopped feeding the fantasy, and now their mind is starving for closure. But you're too far ahead to turn back. You've stopped waiting for apologies. You've stopped pausing your growth for people who never paused to consider your heart. And that gap between who you were and who you are now, that's what they feel every time they think of you. It's not absence, it's elevation. And the more you do less, the more their mind does everything. So if you're walking in that calm confidence now, if you've stopped explaining, stopped chasing, and started becoming, write this in the comments right now. My peace says enough. Say it like your soul is done entertaining confusion. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this isn't just healing. This is the new era, and you're leading it.